So here like we are so where we are like we are checking like we are going to create like a custom exceptions, and then we are going to in the else block, like if the condition false, then it is going to execute take your money. So if it is available balance like more than that, like we are trying to withdraw, then it is going to throw insufficient fund exception. So like that we can create our own like that we can create our own exceptions in Java. So let's take an example. Let's take another example: user not found exception and user validation. Okay, just try to close all the things. Just the user class, the user class which is having the user ID and username and status, right? So we are going to generate the getters and setters. We are going to generate the getters and setters, right? So after that, we have like a validation class. We have like a validation class. So now user not found exception is the class. Okay, user not found exception like is a custom exception class. It extends a runtime exception, and here we have a constructor, and we are passing the str. So we are passing here str. So in that case, see here this is a plain encapsulation class, right? And this is like pure like we are going to create. Let's make this the serial version UID. Okay, so later we'll see what is a serial version UID during the serialization process. Okay, so now we have like the user not found exception class string str. Okay, so we are calling super str. So in that case, we are writing one constructor, and we are calling this one. So the same logic. See, even it is a user not found exception, even is a product not found exception, any kind of exception class, same implementation we are going to do. But how we are using the validation part, just have a look. So in the real time, like we are going to use like this. So okay, in the main method we are going to create a user class object. Okay, and we are going to set, okay, the user ID should not be empty. Okay, so let's say for example I am passing here 1234. Okay, it is a string, and it's not accepting, it's a string. Ajay I am passing. Okay, so now the username. Okay, Ajay, okay, the status like user dot set status, right? So what we are going to do. Okay, so set status, what status we are going to do the validation. Okay, if it is an empty, then we are showing the user status is okay. Let's say for example active and passing. Okay, so in that case, whatever the values we are passing, right, whatever the values we are passing, so we are validating the particular user object, whether user is sending the valid exceptions, like user is not sending the valid exceptions, user is passing the valid details or not. Okay, so I'm passing user dot set, like set user id. This is a setup method, we are passing the Ajay. So in that case, see here in the condition, in the condition, if user dot get user id is empty, that case throw. So we are blocking, we are like we are before saving the object, before proceeding with that object, we are validating the user object. So it is going to check throw new user not found exception, throw new user not found exception. So in that case, user not found exception is the uh, custom class. It's a custom exception class. See, the user not found exception, we have the user like the constructor, right? So as I told you earlier, we are going to write down the constructor. So here, throw new user not found exception. Please provide the user ID details. Please provide with user ID details. So here, if it is an empty means, we are requesting provide the user ID details. Okay. If else if, okay. user dot get user ID is less than 5 characters, less than or equals to length less than or equals to 5. Okay, user ID is too short. User ID should have more than 5 characters. So simply I'm telling like this. See, if it is a less than 5 and some exception if you are throwing, then uh, the end user doesn't understand like what is the problem with our data, what is the problem with their data. So in that case, the user ID is less than 5, then it is going to throw it is, but user ID should not be empty in that case. Okay, so first this will execute, then this satisfies, then it comes to here, then it execute, then it comes to here, it execute, then here, and then here, like that. So first we are checking user ID is empty or not. Okay, just run this class and see what is the output. Okay, somewhere it is. Okay, user ID is too short. Okay, just pass some like is more than that, right? User dot get user okay, user ID. Okay, we are not checking for the username. User ID Ajay is like a 4 characters only, right? Okay, so Ajay Kumar I am writing. Okay, so just run this. Okay, so no exception occurred. No exception occurred means directly it is checking one by one condition, and it is going to print this last statement. So carefully see here. Here, if I'm passing the empty, if it is an empty, see the user ID is empty. Just run this condition. Just run this program, and see user not found exception. User ID is too short. Okay, means it is taking like an empty. Okay, it's not an empty space. It is considering. Now just write down. Just run this one. Please provide the user ID details. Means, so if you see this exception like user not found exception, it is mentioning okay from which line we are getting. In this line we are getting, but if you can see, please provide the user ID details, because it's an empty string. It's an empty string. I'm passing Ajay. Now this time, now this is going to check, this is going to pass. This condition satisfied, this condition satisfied. We are not getting, we are not throwing any exception in the, as of now this. But the next else if condition, it is going to check user dot get user ID. We are setting here the user ID, and we are getting the user ID dot length less than or equal to 5. Then if the condition satisfies, then throw this exception. So throw this exception. So just run this one. See, in the real time also, like this only we are validating. Okay, so like this only we are validating, and we are throwing some exceptions, user defined exceptions. Okay, so it is going to check user ID is too short. User ID should have a more than 5 characters. User ID should have a more than 5 characters. Okay, so in that case we are passing now. So let's say for example in the earlier scenario it is like less than 5 characters, right? So in that case this is going to execute. This is going to, like whatever the message we are passing here, that message comes to, like it is the str is holding that message. Str equals to that message, right? So then we are passing this message, this we are passing this message to here. Then it is calling the runtime exception class. This message belongs to, is a dot class file, we cannot do comment on the. Okay, so here this message is holding what value? This value. This value only we are passing, right? This value only we are passing, right? So that's the reason the str is holding this value only. So then it goes to the runtime exception. From here it is goes to same. Same thing. If you are going to custom exceptions, same logic. Then from here to throwable to a detailed message. It is going to pass. Okay, this is like a normal. This is going to initialize like the detailed message is going to like assign that value here. Then it is going to throw an exception. Okay, that fill stack trace method is there, no, that is going to execute that logic, and it is going to print that complete trace with that exception and the description detail message. Okay, so in that case, now we are passing here Ajay Kumar. Now we are passing here Ajay Kumar. So now this condition also satisfies. It is more than that character. So this is actual exception handling concept. Don't like try catch block also fine, but still like in the real time like this we are going to do the validations and that. Okay. Now the username is an empty. Now one property we validated. One property, like we have a two conditions for one property, that is like a user ID. User ID should not be empty, and user ID should not be less than 5 characters, less than or equal to 5 characters. So it should allow more than 5 characters, right? So in that case, the user ID validation done. The next is name. Okay, so name. So if user dot get username, and this is like a getter method, and this method is coming from the string class. This is coming from the string class. When we are going to discuss the string concept, right, then you will come to know. But as of now, just try to understand. As of now, just try to understand length method, empty method, all these things. Okay, so this is like a simple example. Like you can easily understood what is like custom exceptions, how we are going to throw our custom exceptions and all. So user dot get user ID get username is empty. So if it is an empty, yes, it is an empty. Then it has to throw this condition. First, it is going to check user ID. It is not an empty, then it won't execute. Then after that, it is going to check, okay, more than it's like a less than or equals to 5 characters. Yes, condition satisfied. Then it won't print this one, means it won't throw any exception. Then next it comes to here. Then it validates the username. It validates the username. User dot get username is an empty. Username is an empty. So in that case, it is going to throw new user not found exception. So name should not be an empty. Please enter your name. Name should not be empty. It is going to throw. If it is an empty, it is going to throw. So now here in this case, it is an empty. So just run this one. So like that, you can validate all the fields. See, name should not be empty, right? From which line it is throwing? This line. Which line it is throwing? This line. Right? So not only here, when you are working on the advanced Java concepts and Spring Boot or anything like, so in that case scenarios also, we'll be getting an exception in the console. Just click that one. It is going to give the exact in which line we are getting. Then you can check the data. Okay, either it is an empty. Maybe like some user is not passing their username. Some user ID they are passing only 4 characters, password, all these things. Okay, so you can validate on the password also if you want here. Password is too short. Minimum we require 8 characters. We can write down one more field as like a password, user ID and password, user password. Then you can do validations. So you can enter some 4 characters only. Then it asks. Okay. So else if condition user dot. Okay. Now it's not an empty. Now I'm giving. Okay. So it is going to execute like I'm giving 3 characters. Okay. Now it see it is going to enter like it is going to execute user name is too short. Right? See, even though if I'm giving here, even though if I'm giving empty status and empty username, but here I am giving only 4 characters. The exception is throwing here itself. It won't execute. Means here itself it is throw means the condition satisfied. It executes. That's all. It will throw. Then remaining statements, remaining properties, it won't check. One by one, it is going to check. See, in that case, user name is an empty, right? And status also empty. But why we are not getting this? It is not executing and this, because the first statement itself, like we are throwing. Once we throw, then it won't execute, right? So just give here and user dot user dot like get username and is an empty. Okay, so it should not be empty. Then you can give. So then it should not be empty. Okay, now the status we are passing in empty. So you can create like this. User status should not be empty. So like that you can create your own exceptions and try to practice. Clear? How to create our own exceptions? I think everyone, they're listening or not. I don't know. This is very important concept. Okay, guys. So that's all about today's class. And tomorrow we'll discuss like still some miscellaneous concepts are there in exception handling. Then we'll try to complete tomorrow exception handling, and then we'll start the other concepts. So why after oops concept we are explaining the exception handling means if you start any multi-threading, exception handling is required, and if you start any IO or any if you are starting like if you are dealing with any collection objects, if the collection objects throw some exception, then we should before those concepts we should aware like when string concept when we are using like array index out of bound exception, then we should know why this is causing. So for that purpose only, like after oops concept, like we discuss the exception handling. Clear? Okay, guys. Anyway, I think you're not going. You guys not going to reply. Okay. Good night. So we'll send me the program. Okay. So this is like a user class. I don't know entire it is going to come or not. It's a user class. This is like user not found exception. It's a custom class. And this is the validation class. I don't think so. We got a complete program. Okay. Okay. So username. From username we have to copy. Username is empty. Username is empty. Just sort out like if you are getting any exceptions. It's not an exception, sorry. Yeah. Okay, guys, like just try to practice. Just try to create your own exceptions and see like you are able to follow or not. That's all about today's class. Then tomorrow we'll discuss the remaining concept. Thank you, guys. Bye. Good night.
Honestly.